Hello, my name is Rex, and welcome to G-Rex Customs. Today, I will be showing you how to build a Dark Angel Sergeant inspired by the Risen. Now, if you're like me and have read Lion, Son of the Forest, you've probably considered making a Risen-themed Dark Angel army before. Well, a little while ago I decided to go ahead and actually get started on putting that army together. So far, I've only put together a few characters, a squad of Inner Circle companions, and of course the Lion himself. Now, however, I'm going to get started on the basic troops, starting with a Sergeant. For those of you who don't know, the Risen or former fallen Dark Angels. Cast in the warp and scattered throughout time and space after the fall of Caliban, these survivors were forced to live on their own, hunted by their little brothers in the modern Dark Angels. Many would fall to chaos, but those who didn't and remained loyal to the ideas of the Emperor and the Great Crusade went into hiding, often fighting private wars. With the return of Lionel Johnson, these uncorrupted sons flocked to him, quickly becoming his own personal army known as the Risen. Based off that inspiration, I will be kitbashing a sergeant that could serve as a stand-in for a squad leader of intercessors or assault intercessors, since those will be the rules I will be using in-game. He will be armed with a Calibanite greatsword, which could stand in as either a power weapon or thunderhammer, given its large size and how much it stands out on the model. To replicate this kitbash, you will need 3 kits. First, Inner Circle Companions. Then, Mark III Horus Heresy Tactical Marines. And finally, a normal box of Tactical Marines. Though, as we're only using the banner from the tactical kit, you could easily do without it or swap it for a banner from a different kit. Additionally, the Inner Circle Companion kit comes with enough extra heads and swords that you will have more than enough left over for kit bashing with after you're finished building your squad, especially if you build a full 6-man squad like I did. Now, to start the kit bash, as I mentioned before, for the base of this model, we're going to be using the body, backpack, and arms of a Horus Heresy Mark III Tactical Marine. I really like the new Mark III Marines. I don't like the new helmets as much as I like the old ones, but I prefer the overall look of the armor much more. The bulk of it is nice, and the large open areas provide a lot of room for decals or freehanding designs if that's your thing. Additionally, I think the overall knightly look looks well for Heresy-era Dark Angels. Speaking of which, while I'm building this guy as a member of the Reason, you could easily use these techniques to spice up members of your Dark Angels Horus Heresy army. Continuing on, we're going to clip out the pieces we need to build one of these Mark III Marines. We don't need a specific Marine for this kit bash, so any of the bodies will do. Just clip out everything you'd need to build a normal Marine, minus the head, bolter, and shoulder pads. And, as always, once it's clipped out, we're just going to clean up the sprue lines and nub marks with your hobby knife. Once all the pieces are cleaned up, take some plastic glue, assemble them all out just like you would according to the instructions. Once it's all together, set it aside and leave it to dry. Next, we're going to take the pieces we need off the Inner Circle sprue. From this kit, we're going to be taking one of the Calibanite greatswords that's being held with both hands, a set of shoulder pads, and one of the hooded helmeted heads. It doesn't matter which sword-arm combo you pick, but it will affect the pose of the overall model. For my model, I picked one that is being held up at the ready, but one of the swinging ones, or even one of the one-handed ones, could be used if that's what you're going for. Again, just clip out all the parts you need and clean them up with your hobby knife. Now, we move on to the more complicated part of the kit bash. The Inner Circle arms have unique gauntlets that I wanted to use for this model. but the elbow and upper arms are covered by the sleeves of the robes the companions wear. While this could work on a model that also wearing robes, wouldn't work for our Mark III Space Marine. So, we're going to cut the sleeves away. Starting with the clippers, we're going to cut the arms right where the shoulder would be. Remember to be careful when cutting, as to not damage the gauntlet details. After cutting away what we can with the clippers, we're going to switch to the hobby saw to remove the rest of the sleeve without damaging the gauntlets. Finally, we're going to clean up the saw cut with our hobby knife to create a flat, smooth surface we can use later. Repeat this process on the other arm until you're left with just the gauntlets. Once all that is done, glue the arms to the sword and set them aside to dry. Now that we're left with two disembodied gauntlets holding a sword, we're going to need the rest of the arms. As mentioned earlier, we're going to be taking arms from the Mark III Space Marine kit. I'm going to be using one of the pairs. It's meant to hold one of the bolters. It doesn't really matter which pair of arms you take as long as they're from the same set, but I would recommend using one of the ones that has the elbow pad molded onto it. Once you have them up, the sprue and cleaned up, you're going to want to use your hobby knife or a hobby saw to cut away the forearms, just between the gauntlets and the elbows. Once that's clipped away, use sprue glue or normal plastic glue to attach the gauntlets from the inner circle to the arms, making sure that the shoulders are lined up right to attach to the body. Then, set them aside and leave them to dry. Once you're sure they're dry, take the arms and using plastic glue attach it to the Mark III body. As you can see, the Calibanite greatsword looks pretty large compared to the firstborn body. This is actually one of the main reasons I wanted to do this kit bash, as I like the idea of a Space Marine carrying around a sword roughly the same size that they are. Once the arms are attached, you can put on the shoulder pads. I used the shoulder pads from the Inner Circle companion because I wanted to add a little bulk to the model. But most Space Marine shoulder pads will fit pretty easily without any kind of modification. Once the shoulder pads are attached and dry, you can put on your head. I used one of the hooded helmeted heads from the Inner Circle kit. But like the shoulder pads, you could use basically any Space Marine head and it should fit relatively well. I just like the way the hood looks over the helmet, and I think it adds to the idea that this is a mysterious fallen who was wandering the galaxy for several years before coming back into the light to serve with Lionel Johnson. Once the head is dry, you can attach the model to his base. Now, since this model is going to be a sergeant, I wanted him to stand out a little bit more than a normal Marine. So I decided to add a back banner. I don't normally include a lot of back banners in my armies, but I think one really fit this model. So I grabbed one off of a sprue I had left over from my normal tactical marine box and attached it to the Mark III backpack. It didn't fit at first, so I had to clip away the square base at the edge of the banner pole and flatten out the connection point on the power pack to make it work. Then I just glued the two together and set them aside, let them dry, before attaching both to the model. After that, it was time to paint it up, put on some decals, leaving us with this. I'm really happy with how this model turned out. It's not the most complicated kit bash I've ever done, but I think the modifications add a lot to a character that would otherwise be pretty plain. And I think they also really help to sell him as a Heresy-era Dark Angel who was returned in the modern day. This is the second video I have here on my channel. I have 3 more Space Marine kit bashes in the works, which will be coming out over the next few months. I'm trying to release videos every 2 weeks on Friday. So if you're looking forward to the others, remember to subscribe and hit that bell to stay in the loop. If you have any video ideas you'd like to see me do, leave a comment. Additionally, I'd appreciate it a lot if you could share this video with your friends or on your social media. Anyway, I hope you learned something, and if you didn't, hopefully you at least had a good time. I'll see you next time. This is Rex, signing off.